Syrian Civil War. Subscribe, Universal Tutor. The Syrian Civil War is a complex and ongoing conflict that began in 2011, during the wave of popular uprisings known as the Arab Spring. The conflict has resulted in significant human suffering, displacement, and a multifaceted geopolitical crisis. Here are key aspects of the Syrian Civil War. Origins. 1. Arab Spring protests. 2011. The conflict started with peaceful protests in March 2011, inspired by the Arab Spring movements in other countries. 1. Syrians initially called for political reforms, greater freedoms, and an end to government corruption. Escalation. 2. Government crackdown. The Syrian government, led by President Bashar al-Assad, responded to the protests with force, leading to violence and casualties. The government's actions escalated tensions and fueled opposition. Emergence of armed opposition. As the conflict intensified, armed opposition groups formed to challenge the Assad regime. These groups included the Free Syrian Army and various Islamist and jihadist factions. International involvement. The conflict quickly attracted the attention and involvement of regional and global powers. Russia and Iran provided support to the Syrian government, while the US and its allies supported various rebel groups. The conflict became a proxy war. Humanitarian impact. 5. Casualties and displacement. The Syrian civil war has resulted in hundreds of thousands of casualties and millions of people displaced, both internally and as refugees in neighboring countries and beyond. 1. Humanitarian crisis. The conflict led to a humanitarian crisis, with shortages of food, medical supplies, and basic necessities. 1. Many civilians have been caught in the crossfire and suffered from bombings and sieges. Complexity. 7. Multiple factions. The Syrian civil war involves a multitude of armed factions, each with its own interests and goals. This complexity has made it difficult to find a peaceful resolution. 1. ISIS and extremist groups. The rise of the Islamic State, ISIS, in Syria and Iraq added another layer of complexity to the conflict. 1. ISIS took control of significant territory in Syria before being largely defeated. Peace efforts. 9. Peace talks. Various international efforts have been made to find a political solution to the conflict, including talks in Geneva and Astana, now Nur Sultan. However, these talks have faced challenges, and a comprehensive peace agreement remains elusive. Current status. 10. Ceasefire zones. As of my last knowledge update in September 2021, there were ceasefire agreements in some areas, but fighting and instability persisted in others. The Syrian government had regained control over much of the country, but pockets of opposition-held territory remained. It's important to note that the situation in Syria is fluid and subject to change. Given the dynamic nature of the conflict and the evolving geopolitical landscape, I recommend checking recent news and updates from reliable sources for the latest information on the Syrian civil war and its developments. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.